Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down multiple storms that are coming to the United States over the next 7 days. And one of these storms is going to bring a multi-day large severe weather event to parts of the country. And this will include all modes of severe weather, including damaging winds, large to perhaps even very large hail, and as well as a few tornadoes. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. And let's begin first with what's happening across the United States right now. And we'll begin actually with the southeast and as well as the Ohio Valley. And this is actually where the large storm is currently ongoing. This is one of the multiple storms that we'll be dealing with this week across the lower 48. Notice this system bringing a lot of showers and even some thunderstorms to areas down near the Gulf Coast. We have observed some severe weather in areas like Louisiana and even in southern Mississippi earlier today. That severe weather threat will move into Florida late tonight into tomorrow, and that'll actually lead to a couple of isolated tornadoes from central Florida back through southeast Florida, and we'll be talking more about the severe weather threat in just a few minutes. Further up to the north, all that moisture is not just confined to the southeast. We actually do have some showers and also lots of cloud cover across areas in the Ohio Valley. This all comes after we saw a few gustnadoes yesterday in areas like the Midwest, some damaging winds, and also hail as large as 2 inches in diameter. That severe weather threat obviously has completely ended. That was yesterday. This moisture has all moved to the east, and we are still watching for some showers in the Ohio Valley, but no severe weather back up that far to the north. Also a small disturbance moving through the northeast, also bringing some showers this evening. And back through the Great Plains, we have really a lot of cloud cover beginning to build, and our next storm is actually going to be impacting the southern plains beginning tomorrow night and as well as going into Thursday, and that'll be our next shot for some more significant severe weather from areas like Texas all the way back into the southeast. And again, we will be talking about more specific details on that particular severe weather event here in just a couple of minutes. But let's talk more about what's coming to the United States over the next 7 days in terms of the multiple storms, because we already have one right now in the southeast and also back into the northeast parts of the country, but there are going to be more as we get closer to the end of the week and as well as into the weekend. So let's break that down for you on the future radar. Beginning with tonight, plenty of showers and thunderstorms will be ongoing from areas like Kentucky and Tennessee back into Florida. There will be at least a low-end threat of severe weather across parts of Florida tonight into tomorrow morning. Once we get closer to around lunchtime tomorrow, those showers and storms will still be ongoing in areas like central and southern Florida. That tornado risk will primarily be confined to the time frame before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so mostly the morning into the early afternoon hours. Back over to the north and east, showers and some downpours will be ongoing from any areas like Vermont and Maine all the way back into New Jersey. Once we go to Thursday, eventually that system moves off to the east. We'll be watching for 2 different storms on Thursday, one of which will be much less impactful than the other. That is going to be the one that's back up in the northern plains and the upper Midwest. There will be some snow with this actually as we go throughout the morning Thursday, but it's really going to impact a very small area of northern Minnesota. Otherwise, just some flurries and light snow for Canada. The more impactful storm you'll notice is back in the central and southern plains. That is where showers and thunderstorms will be ongoing Thursday afternoon, and this is what we're going to have to watch for going to Thursday evening, is that low pressure system to move a little bit further to the east, beginning to set up the potential for some large hailstorms across areas in Texas and eventually going into Louisiana and Arkansas, perhaps even southern Oklahoma. This event will primarily take place during the late afternoon into the evening hours, and I'll show you more detailed timing here in just a minute. Going into Friday, that low pressure system will kind of split into 2 different parts. We're gonna have some showers back up in the Midwest. I'm not expecting more severe weather for you guys. Luckily, obviously, we've had multiple events recently, back on Thursday and also yesterday. We had 2 different severe weather events, but we're done at least for the rest of this week, I would say. Once we go into Friday afternoon and evening, that is our next threat of severe weather, which is going to take place from Arkansas, even East Texas and Louisiana, back into Georgia and South Carolina, across many areas in the Dixie Alley. That'll lead to some damaging winds, large hail, and perhaps even a few tornadoes. Once we go into Saturday morning, that severe weather threat will shift to the East Coast. Pretty minimal severe weather I'm expecting, at least for Saturday. And by late Saturday into Sunday, we will need to watch for some snow back up in areas like New England. And eventually, as we go into Monday, that disturbance moves to the east. And after that, we're going to be done with severe weather, at least through the beginning of next week. I do think we're going to have a return of some more significant severe weather by the tail end of next week. But obviously, that's long-term thinking, as that is still well over 7 days out from now. All right, let's talk more in detail about the severe weather threat for the next several days. And we'll begin with tomorrow, which is Wacky Weather Wednesday. Overall, nothing too crazy across the country. The only 2 threats that we have, one of which is in Florida. That does include areas like Orlando, Cape Canaveral, back into Miami. And the main concern down in Florida will be the chance for a couple of tornadoes and perhaps some sporadic damaging winds during the morning. We will transition our focus though in the evening to areas in Texas, and that includes anywhere from Abilene back into the DFW Metroplex. Really small marginal threat of severe weather, and there will be a few storms that fire up tomorrow evening. The main concern currently is large hail and some sporadic damaging winds. I don't have a tornado risk in the forecast for tomorrow, but I do have a little bit more of an elevated threat of severe weather as we go into Thursday. On tossing trampolines on tall trees Thursday, we do have a slight risk of severe weather. That is anywhere from southwest Oklahoma back into the DFW Metroplex, goes as far south as areas near Austin and San Antonio. And this is an interesting little threat here because we're really not talking about much of a tornado risk either on Thursday. Instead, we're talking more about large to even maybe some very large hail with a couple of storms that end up developing Thursday. And this will be the primary area to watch for. And by the way, this is a 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. So it's a low to medium threat overall. Marginal threat of severe weather goes as far north and east as areas like southern Kansas and even back into Louisiana and Arkansas. Main concern again will be large hail. There will be a few storms with some damaging winds, and there might be a brief tornado, but it's going to be a very low risk overall. Guess what? The severe weather does not end there. We have another risk of severe weather on flying fences Friday. This goes from Texas all the way back into Florida and as well as southern Alabama. The main concern right now is damaging winds and large hail, but there also is going to be a chance for at least a couple of tornadoes anywhere from central and east Texas all the way back into Florida and southern Alabama. Now let's dive into the timing with these severe storms, beginning with tomorrow evening. This is right around 6 o'clock. We'll be watching for a few supercells to develop back over in central Texas. These are going to be mostly moving east and northeast, and the main concern again tomorrow will be large hail. Overall, it's a low threat. It's a marginal threat of severe weather. By 7 to 8 o'clock, these storms will move to the east toward the DFW Metroplex. Eventually, by 9 to 10 o'clock, those storms are entering into the Metroplex with damaging winds and some large hail. By 11 to 12 o'clock, storms are moving into parts of northeast Texas and including areas in the eastern DFW Metroplex. By 1 to 2 in the morning, those storms continue to roll to the east, and eventually going into Thursday morning, we are going to be watching for plenty of showers and downpours across much of the southern plains. This will actually stabilize the environment a little bit, so that could actually lead to a little bit less of a severe weather threat during the afternoon, but that is yet to really be determined. This is what the European model is showing. By around 9 o'clock going into Thursday evening, showers and storms would start to fire up near the DFW area, and these are going to be the ones to watch for the greatest potential of some large hail. And the European model also shows a second round of storms developing during the overnight hours, and these would also be capable of large to even perhaps very large hail up to around 2 inches in diameter. And eventually, as we go into Friday morning, those storms continue to roll to the east, with damaging winds being a concern all the way through Friday afternoon and evening. Notice even back in the Texas Panhandle, there will be some snow up there. That is actually pretty impressive for this time of the year. By Friday evening, storms continue to move to the east, and we'll also be watching for some other showers and storms from Arkansas back into Kentucky. So if you're back in the southeast, again, we have a tornado risk tomorrow morning for those in Florida. Main concern, again, will be between about 6 a.m. or so, all the way through about lunchtime, maybe a little bit after that. Once we go into Thursday afternoon and evening, mostly dry across the Dixie Alley. Once we get closer to Friday afternoon, that is when storms will start to move into areas along the Gulf Coast. We'll be watching for some large hail, damaging winds, perhaps a couple of tornadoes, all the way throughout the late afternoon on Friday into the evening, and eventually into Saturday morning. There will be another round of some isolated severe weather from about North or South Carolina back into the Florida Panhandle, and this will lead to some isolated severe weather during the morning and into the early afternoon hours, which eventually the severe weather threat will start to diminish. And if there's any severe weather left by Sunday, it will be confined to areas in central and southern Florida with some damaging winds. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.